चित्ते अप्रतिसंक्रमयाः तदाकार आपत्तौ स्वबुद्धि संवेदनम. Now, the Purusha does not have a direct relationship with the objects. We know it is not the Purusha that has a direct relation with the objects. Chitta, through all the senses, it gains the knowledge of the outside world, and the Chitta then presents it to the Purush. So, the Purush, it does not have a direct relation with the objects. Instead, it perceives the knowledge of the mind that has identified itself with those objects. So, from where does he gain the knowledge? He gains the knowledge from the chitta. Why from the chitta? Because it is the chitta who identifies or who receives the information from the senses. The senses tell the chitta that, okay, this is this object or this is what is happening. So the senses, they convey all the information to the chitta, and the chitta then presents it to the purusha. Why purush can't have or doesn't have a direct relationship? Because purush is apratisankramayaha. That means purush is pure. It is aparanami. It is unchanging. Now this was actually the definition. Like, what is purush? This was a definition of purush. That how is the purush? It is apratisankramayaha. That means it is unchanging. It is aparinami. This is the definition of drashta or purush that is given. Same definition, not same, but similar definition of purush was given previously also. Does anyone remember what is the definition of purush that was given in the previous Paad? Which Paad? Definition of drashta and drushya. I had specifically told you.
Drashta drushimatra suddha api pratyanu.
Yes, perfect. Perfect. Who told me this? किसने बोला अभी? Pragya ji. Yeah. Yes, yes. Very good. So definition of drashta is given in 2.20. And same here also, Patanjali Rishi is telling about Purush only. How is the Purush? That Purush, it does not have a direct relationship with the objects. It gains the knowledge through Chitta. And how does the Chitta gain the knowledge? Chitta gains the knowledge because it identifies itself with those objects. Through the senses, the Chitta gets the knowledge, and Chitta then presents it to the Purusha. Purusha, who is apratisankramayaha. That means Purush is unchanging, aparinami. We have seen this previously also. Now, Patanjali Rishi, he defines Chitta. Drashto drishyoho uparaktam chittam sarvartham. Drashto drishyo uparaktam. When the chitta, that is mind, establishes a connection with the self, that is drashta, and the objects also, it becomes the means of fulfilling all the purposes. So when the chitta, it establishes its connection with the drashta also, which is insight, and the drishya also, then what happens? It becomes the means of fulfilling all the purpose. What is the prayojan? What is the purpose of chitta? The purpose of chitta is to give bhog and apavarga to the purush. So here I have an example that this is the chitta. Let's consider that this is a river of chitta. Okay, now if you see in the outside world, okay, there is one way where it is moving towards the sansar, that is a materialistic world. And the other way for the river of chitta is purush. So it works both ways. It is connected to the sansar also, to the materialistic world also, and it is connected to the purush also. When chitta becomes one with the sansar or a materialistic world, what happens? When chitta is involved with the senses, all the materialistic world.
Enjoys the activities.
He enjoys the activities. He's happy. That means he's in a vyuthana state. Kshipta Muda Vikshipta. Vyuthana state. So at that time, the chitta is in a vyuthana state. I want this, I want that, I. So vyuthana, restless state. But if this chitta, when this chitta, it becomes one or is working towards purush, what happens? The chitta becomes pure. All the kleshas, all the vrittis, they are destroyed. So there are two ways in which the chitta works. It is connected with the sansar also. It is connected with the purush also. Depending on where the chitta is connected, the state of the chitta differs. So अगर बाहर भाग रहा है आपका मन, आपका चित्त, then that means it is in vyutthana state. If the chitta, by dharana, dhyan, samadhi and sanyam, we are meditating on our mind, ourself, our atma, then what happens? It will become pure, it will become shant. When the chitta, it becomes one with the samsar, ya materialistic world, it is in the vyutthana state. And at that time, it is drishya. But when this chitta, after destruction of klesh, after destruction of all the karma file, all the vrittis, if the chitta is inclined towards purush, then the chitta becomes pure and it is called as drashta. So, when the chitta establishes the connection with the self, that is drashta, and the objects, drishya, then what happens? It is connected to both. Then it acts as a means of fulfilling the purpose of bhog. So, if it is one with the materialistic world, then it will give bhog. And if the chitta is inclined towards purush, then it will help, or it will help in liberation, or it will attain apavarga. In the next sutra, tat asankhyeya vasanabhi chitram api paratham sauhatya karitatvat. Tat asankhyeya vasanabhi. Asankhya means numerous, or we can say infinite, ananta, vasana. So we know that there are infinite vasanas. Chitram api parartham. Now, chitram means they are imprinted. Parartham means on the atma or purush. Samhatya karitatvat. That means they work together. So the chitta or mind, we know our chitta, it is imprinted. Or we can say it has got lot of countless vasanas. Still, it belongs to the individual soul. Because why? Because it works together. Sangat bhava. It works together for the purpose of giving bhog and apavarga to the purush. So even though the chitta has got countless vasanas, still continuously it is working for the purush. It serves its purpose for the purush. And how does it serve? It works together. It works together means all the elements, 23 elements that are discussed in Sankhya, they all work together to serve the purpose. What is the purpose? To give bhog and apavarga to the purush. Here, for a very simple example, I have given that all the components of the system, they work together to form something useful, like a computer or a mobile. Here I have given a computer. That computer, CPU, mouse pad, monitor, all those things, they come together. And when they come together, only then that computer works. If you see them individually, that only mouse, what will the mouse do? Only keypad, what will the keypad do? Only the screen, what will the screen do? It cannot do anything. But when they come together, when they work together, only then that computer can be of use. Only then that computer is useful. So their purpose is to come together in the form of computers so that we can use it. Now, similarly, here Patanjali Rishi is telling us that there are infinite, ananta vasanas in our chitta. It cannot make use of them. The existence of chitta, though there are so many vasanas in our chitta, still the existence of the chitta. Why does the chitta exist? Or what is the aim of the chitta? What is the goal of the chitta? It is to give bhog and apavarga to the Purush. Then Patanjali Rishi tells us how a yogi attains Kaivalya. Now, from here, all the sutras of Kaivalya, very important sutras from exam point of view. How a yogi attains Kaivalya. So, what happens when a yogi attains Viveka Gyan? Vishesha Darshana Atma Bhavana Vini Vrittihi. Now, Vishesha Darshana. Vishesha Darshana means a distinct entity of Purush and Prakriti. Okay, now Vishesha Darshan. When the yogi gains practical experience in the state of Samadhi, who is a Vishesha Darshan? Vishesha Darshan doesn't mean that someone who has read the books or someone who has heard about it. When a yogi, he practices himself, he experiences everything himself and understands it through his experience. That is called as Vishesha Darshan. That means, for example, we want to cook something. For example, biryani. And we have just seen on the YouTube, this channel, that channel, someone preparing biryani. So that is not Vishesh Darshan. But when you prepare, you practically prepare biryani. That is the practical experience. So here, when the yogi, he himself has a practical experience in the state of Samadhi. When he attains Samadhi, whatever experiences he gains, whatever knowledge he gains, that knowledge is called as Vishesha Darshan. Very important. Then, such yogis, Patanjali Rishi here is telling us that such yogis who attain special knowledge or Vishesha Gyan, they lose the desire to know themselves. Atma Bhav, Bhavna, Vinivrutti. Vinivrutti is lose the desire. Bhavna is desire. Vinivrutti is free from that desire to know themselves. They just don't want to now know themselves. Why? Because they have already attained the knowledge. So, on the path of yoga practice, as the yogi progresses and as the sanskars of samadhi from previous birth, they begin to manifest the curiosity about oneself, it gradually decreases. Because from previous birth, when he recollects all the sanskars, he comes to know who he is, who really he is, what is his goal. He comes to know everything. He gets that jnana, that knowledge. And when he gains that knowledge, then he's not interested. He's not eager. He loses the desire to know himself because he already knows himself. Now, at the beginning, when the yogi is practicing, when you practice on the spiritual path, there are a lot of questions in our mind for which the practitioner, he wants answers and he looks for answers. But as he advances on the path of yoga, as he moves ahead, what happens? He gets all the answers one by one. All his queries, all his questions are answered. And there comes a time when there are no questions. All his queries, all his questions are answered. And then at that state, what happens? He lives a life free from asmita. There is no asmita. There is no ego over here. And the yogi or the practitioner, he attains viveka gyan. That means he is free from all the questions. He has gained the eternal knowledge. He knows Purusha and Prakriti. And he is firmly established in the right conduct. That is Viveka Gyan. Then, Tada Viveka Nimnam Kaivalyam Pragbharam Chittam. Kaivalya Pragbhar. Now, Kaivalya Pragbhar means inclined towards Kaivalya. Tada Viveka Nimnam. That means one who has gained the knowledge of Viveka or who has gained Viveka Gyan. What happens? Such a yogi is inclined towards the path of Kaivalya. When a yogi attains discriminative knowledge, that is Viveka Gyan, his mind constantly is engaged on the path of knowledge and he becomes oriented towards liberation. Very simple sutra. Tada viveka nimnam kaivalya pradbharam chittam. When what happens when a yogi attains viveka gyan, then he is inclined towards kaivalya. His chitta is inclined towards kaivalya. Yogi gets inclined towards kaivalya, just like iron filings get attracted towards a magnet. Now, at this stage, what happens? All the kleshas, all the five kleshas, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesh, at this stage, they are very, very weak. They are very weak. And whatever the yogi is practicing, it comes very naturally to him. He does not have to make any effort to be on the path of yoga. Why? Because the kleshas are they have become weak. So the kleshas are not troubling him. And then the process of pratiprasav starts. It is here that the process of pratiprasav, it starts. So in the next sutra, tat chidreshu pratyaya antarani samskarebhya. Okay, tat chidreshu, chidra, we know that holes. So even after attaining discriminative knowledge, so Patanjali Rishi told us that okay, now the yogi has attained Viveka Gyan. Now, here Patanjali Rishi is told that even after attaining Vivek Gyan, due to the accumulated sanskars from previous birth, what happens? The state of Vyutthan continues to arise from time to time. So, though a yogi has attained Vivek Gyan, what happens? The state of Vyutthan, it pops up, it arises from time to time. Why here this word is used? Tat chidreshu, जैसे छन्नी होती है ना हमारी छन्नी को, there are holes. Or even on a paper, if you put holes in it, then what happens? Certain things, what if you put sand in it, it will fall slowly. The big stones will, the small stones will fall from it. The finer sand will go through it, pass through it. So that is what Patanjali Rishi here is telling us, that even though the yogi has attained Viveka Gyan, because of the previous sanskars, chidreshu, from those holes, दो वासना रूपी दो संस्कार होते हैं, व्युत्थान के संस्कार, they keep on popping up. Like for example, another example I can give, that even though the farmer has removed the weeds from the farm, still he has to keep removing, because every day some new weed will pop up. So similarly, even though a yogi has attained Vivek Gyan, there are times when, because of the previous sanskars, what happens? The state of distraction or vyuthana state, it arises from time to time. So he has to be very steady and continue his practice. Now here, for example, I've given pearl. Now if you see pearl from a naked eye, you feel, wow, the pearl is of a very good quality, very smooth, what a nice finish. But if you see through the lens, you will see fine lines on it. So those lines are still there. It is not very smooth as it looks. Similarly, though the yogi has attained Vivek Gyan, okay, he has attained discriminative knowledge, but still those finer things which are required for Kaivalya are still pending. He has not reached that state. There are still Vyuthana state somewhere, and it keeps popping up. So something is still missing. Then, Hana Mesham Kleshavad Uttam. Hana, we know the destruction of all these sanskars, the sanskars that are popping up from every now and then. How to destroy them? So the destruction of all these accumulated and remaining impressions from previous birth, it should be understood in the same way as the elimination of 5 kleshas, such as avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesh. So here Patanjali Rishi is telling how to destroy those impressions, how to destroy the sanskaras, just the way we destroyed the kleshas. In the same way, you have to destroy the kleshas. Like for example, practice kriya yoga. Because so when you practice Kriya Yoga, what happens? The kleshas, they weaken, and at a certain point they become like burned seeds which no longer sprouts. So that is told over here. Therefore, a yogi wants to attain Kaivalya. Now he is almost at the final stage. The final state, the winning line is he is almost at that point. But still, there are certain impressions because of the sanskars, because of which, though the kleshas are weak, they still exist. So here, you need to practice you need to practice everything that has been told previously. The solution is the practices that are used to destroy all the kleshas. And when you do that, then what happens? Prakriti, it begins to return to its original form. So whichever guna was dominant, all the three gunas, they become leveled, same level. And then they also merge into ahankar, then mahat, and then prakriti. So in Bhagavad Gita, such yogis are called as yoga brashta, meaning those who attain high state in yoga and fall from it due to past life impressions. So here also, there are chances of a yogi, if he doesn't work on himself, even after attaining Viveka Gyan, because of the Chidra, the Chidreshu, because of those holes, he can again go back. He can fall from the state. So he has to keep practicing. What should he practice? All those things that destroyed the kleshas, the same procedure, the same processes, the same practices a yogi needs to practice. Then what happens after attaining Vivek Khyati? प्रसंख्याने अपि अकुसीदस्य सर्वथा विवेक ख्यातेः धर्ममेघः समाधि. Very important sutra from exam point of view. Dharmamegha samadhi. So here Patanjali Rishi is talking about Dharmamegha samadhi. In exam, lot of questions are asked for Dharmamegha samadhi. So when one becomes completely detached from the paths of siddhis, now you're free from all the paths of siddhis arising from the discriminative knowledge. So because of Viveka Gyan, you're not attached to the siddhis. Okay, you're detached from all the siddhis. And when perfect discriminative awareness, Sarvatha Viveka Khyati, is attained, one reaches the state of Dharmamegha Samadhi. What is Dharmamegha Samadhi? So Dharmamegha Samadhi means just like a cloud of virtue. It showers rain, just as a cloud showers rain. Similarly, Dharmamegha Samadhi is a cloud of virtues. So virtues are showered on the yogi once the yogi attains Dharmamegha Samadhi. So when a yogi, through Kriya Yoga, he weakens all the kleshas, then what happens? Raja and Tamaguna are destroyed and only Sattva Guna remains. However, until a state free of all the three gunas is attained, the yogi cannot reach the state of Kaivalya. So Patanjali Rishi is telling over here that after practicing Kriya Yoga, though Raja and Tamaguna are destroyed, still Sattva Guna it remains. Until that guna is also not destroyed, you cannot attain Kaivalya unless the yogi is free from Sattva Guna. The yogi cannot attain Kaivalya. Then Patanjali Rishi here again tells us, explaining that his one and only sattvic aspiration that remains is to attain Kaivalya. And this state is what Maharshi calls as Dharma Megha Samadhi, the state where the uninterrupted flow of knowledge of Kaivalya remains, unobstructed by desire. So in Dharma Megha Samadhi, what happens? The flow of knowledge is continuous, it is uninterrupted, and there is no desire. Only Sattva Gun exist. Raja and Tamagun they cease to exist. And such continuous flow of knowledge, that is called as Dharma Megha Samadhi. So in Dharma Megha Samadhi, very important, Sattva Gun is still remaining. Viveka Khyati, that is Viveka Gyan is attained. And there is no desire. These three things, when a yogi attains these three things, that means a yogi has attained Dharma Megha Samadhi. So how do we attain Dharma Megha Samadhi? Only after Viveka Khyati. So when we attain Vivek Khyati, only then we attain Dharma Megha Samadhi. Then Tataha Klesha Karma Nivrittihi. When we attain Dharma Megha Samadhi, what is the fruit of Dharma Megha Samadhi? The entire collection of actions, Klesha Karma. Because of the Kleshas, it comes to the end. Because what is the fruit of Dharma Megha Samadhi? That all the karma which were practiced because of kleshas, they are destroyed. They come to an end. So again here same thing is saying that after Dharma Megha Samadhi, what happens? All the kleshas in the yogi's life, whether from this birth or the previous birth, they become like burned seeds. That means the kleshas, they don't exist. They will not sprout again. Previously, in Vivek Khyati, what happened? The kleshas, they would sprout now and then. But in Dharma Megha Samadhi, when the yogi attains Dharma Megha Samadhi, the kleshas, they become like burnt seed. They come to an end. They do not sprout. And the yogi becomes free from Sattva Gun now. Gunatit. He is called as Jivan Mukta. Why he is called as only Jivan Mukta and not Videha Mukta? Videha means without the body. But here he has the body, he has not left his body. He is staying in the body and he is practicing. Hence he is called as Jivan Mukta. But he is free from all the other things. He is free from klesh, he is free from karma sanskars. That's why he is called as Jivan Mukta. And his karma are Ashukla and Akrishna. So no karma share, no karma vipak, nothing exists. Then what happens? Tada sarva avarana malapetasya jnanasya anantyad niyam alpam. Jnanasya anantyad. That means infinite knowledge. He gains infinite knowledge. Neya alpam. And there is very little that needs to be known. Sarva avarana malapetasya. So after Dharma Megha Samadhi, what happens? The veil of ignorance, okay, or the veil of, you can say, impurities, it comes off, it is removed. And when the veil of ignorance is removed, what happens? Infinite knowledge is gained. And there is very little that remains to be known. That is again a fruit of Dharma Megha Samadhi. So what is the fruit of Dharma Megha Samadhi in this sutra? Patanjali Rishi has told, Sarva avarana mal apetasya, all the impurities are removed. Second, jnanasya anantyat, that is infinite knowledge is gained. Third is niyam alpam, very less needs to be known. These are the three fruits of Dharma Megha Samadhi that Patanjali Rishi has mentioned over here. Then Patanjali Rishi tells us, Tataha Krutarthanam Parinam Krama Samaptihi Gunanam. Here, after attaining Dharma Megha Samadhi, the three gunas which had already fulfilled their purpose, Krutarthanam, उनका प्रयोजन खत्म हो गया था. Their purpose, they had attained their purpose, they had completed their work. What was the work of the three gunas? That means what was the work of Prakriti? To provide bhog and apavarga. Now that work of three gunas, that has also come to end. So there is no purpose of the three gunas. So then what happens? They recede back into their essence. Tataha krutarthanam parinama krama samapti. So their transformation, the sequence of all the gunas, it ends over here. Why? Because krutarthanam, gunanam, their purpose of giving bhog and apavarga to the purush, that is over. So there is no work. So if there is no work, जैसे अभी ऑफिस का टाइम हो गया, खत्म हो गया, then what do? We go home. Similarly, the gunas, they recede back into the essence. Then what is kram? Here Patanjali Rishi mentioned about krutarthanam parinama krama. Okay, that there is a certain kind of sequence. Okay, how it recedes back, there is a certain kind of sequence. So here Patanjali Rishi is talking about that kram. Kshana pratiyogi parinama aparanta nirgrahya kram. So what is kram? Kshana pratiyogi. That means every moment, the time has lot of moments, small, tiny moments. Okay, and all those moments are called as time. That which is perceived until the completion of action in the absence of any interruption between moments is called kram. Now, for example, okay, time, it is made up of lot of small moments, just like a day it is made up of lot of hours. Hour is made up of lot of minutes. A minute is made up of, it constitutes 60 seconds. Similarly, when we are talking about time, so the sequence or the crumb, the time, it is made up of tiny moment. The moments, they come together, and then we say that it is time. So that every moment, in each and every moment, there is certain kind of change that is taking place in the body, in the mind, in the universe. But are we aware of that change? Not always. For example, when we step in the water, if you have gone to the river and you stepped in the water, is the water the same this second and the next second? No, because the water that touched your feet this second, it goes away. The next second, the water that is touching your feet is different. Okay, so every moment there is change that is taking place, but we don't consciously understand that change. We are not aware of it. But when we look at all the moments together, then we realize that, oh, the time has passed. Okay, and for that, you have to look at all the moments together without any interruption. Now, for example, there is a baby. For example, I've given over here a small baby. You don't notice the difference every day that is taking place. But suddenly, when the baby starts walking, you say, oh, the child is walking, or the child has started talking. But did the child actually start talking or walking that moment? No. That process was going on. And because of the continuous process, because of that continuous moments where he was trying to talk or walk, finally he has started walking or talking. So it is a collection, it is a sequence, kram. It is a sequence of lot of efforts after which the child is able to talk or walk. So that is called as kram. Kram means the sequence without any interruption. The sequence is called as kram. पुरुषार्थ शून्यानाम गुणानाम प्रति प्रसवः कैवल्यम स्वरूप प्रतिष्ठा वाच्यते शक्ति इति. Then last is Jivan. The dissolution of the gunas back into their original cause. That means when the gunas, there is pati prasav of gunas, when they go back to their original form, once they are free from the purpose or goal of its life. When they are free from their purpose, what was the purpose of gunas? To give bhog and apavarga to the purush. Once that purpose is fulfilled, what happens? The gunas, they go back, they recede back into their original form. And when the gunas, three gunas, they recede back into their original form, that is called as Kaivalya. Then the yogi attains Kaivalya or moksha or liberation. Alternatively, when the self abides in its true essential nature, it is known as moksha. Or we can say, when the Atma And the Atma, it abides or goes in its original state. Tada drashtuhu svarupe vasthanam. Okay, we studied in the first part. Tada drashtuhu svarupe vasthanam. When the drashta, it goes back to its original state. That is called as moksha, or that is called as liberation. And with this, we finish Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Iti Patanjali Yoga Shastre Kaivalya Nirdeshaha Nama Chaturtha Pada Samaptam Yoga Darshanam. So thus, Maharishi Patanjali proclaims the completion of the Yoga Sutras, and Yoga Darshan, it reaches its fulfillment.